Hello, everybody. Hello, Ironclad Immunity. I am Dr. Ben, and we are back with another edition of Ask Dr. Ben. What we're going to discuss, and it's also something that a lot of people have been dealing with. If you were affected with COVID, if you got it, if you are dealing with the healing effects from that, it's really important to discuss because there's a lot of misunderstanding, miscommunications about this. There's people that are adamant that this is a vaccine injury thing. There are people who are adamant that they've been poisoned. Well, we'll get into the deeper aspects of this, but basically what the question is why all this extreme fatigue, this extreme frustration. I know there's people in this group who are dealing with the health effects that have to do with getting sick and getting healthy. And this really is a tragic thing to see. It's a tragic thing to deal with. In a way, this comes very, very close to my heart because this Ironclad Immunity in itself was started with the idea of helping people boost immunity, get their immune systems right, to protect them from COVID. And the exact same things that help you avoid getting COVID also help you heal from it. It's a healing program. That's really what this whole program of Ironclad Immunity is about. It's the process of the gauntlet. It protects people. That's why it's called Ironclad, because really it's what about is to give you an immune system that you can trust, that protects you. So specifically for you, Lisa, and this is for anybody who's dealing with deep fatigue, where they can't seem to get energy, they can't get healthy, they struggle, they're tired, they're fatigued, they're not healthy at all, they're dealing with a lot of problems. A lot of those people, and let me put it this way, it kind of all comes down to the same sort of thing. Now there can be different origins for someone who's healing from COVID. For example, if you have someone who has really a lot of lung damage, they're going to have to heal their lung tissue, right? And how does tissue heal? I explain this to my patients pretty much every time I get a new patient, how the body heals, like what it needs to do that, the combinations that go into that. Really briefly, we'll get it really simply. Your body's healing all the time. In this moment, right, as you're sitting here listening to this, well, I've been talking for 3 minutes now. That means there's 3 million blood cells that have been going on and being created in your body in this time, right? There's millions and millions and millions of blood cells that are being produced all the time, every minute. That's why we have a brown poop and yellow urine, not to be gross, but that's where it comes from. It comes from the breakdown of our cells, our blood cells in particular. But your body's continually healing. Every single part of your body is healing all the time. Every 10 years, you have a brand new skeleton. Every 3 days, you have a brand new lining of your stomach. Every 50 years, you have a brand new heart. Everything in your body is constantly healing and replenishing itself and rejuvenating itself, including your lung tissue. But what does it need to do that? Well, it needs to have stuff to be able to grow with. It needs the right nutrition, and we'll get into that a little bit later. That's really important. What is the right nutrition? Well, that is the devil in the detail problem, right? Because there's all these people out there that are going to tell you all sorts of things about what you need to do. You got to take these supplements. You got to take all this sort of stuff. You got to have these special things. You got to follow this special diet. You got to do all these different things. It's really expensive. It needs to be that, or you're supposed to have this and not that. Or think about all the different diets that are out there right now. Carnivore, we just eat meat, or keto, or paleo, or vegan. That's a big one. Everything in between, the McDonald's diet, the fad things, all these weird intermittent fasting, all that sort of stuff. The reality is there is one optimal diet for human beings. What does the word diet mean? Let's take a little bit of a side jet. What's the diet of, say, a shark? Well, what's ever in the ocean, right? Do sharks think about dieting and being like, oh, well, I got to stop eating seals because they're too fatty, or there's too many carbs in this seaweed or something? I don't think, do sharks eat seaweed? No, probably not. They just eat what is nature is intended for them, correct? They don't worry about it. That's what the diet of a shark is. What's the diet of an eagle? or a bird? What's the diet of any sort of creature, natural creature in nature? It's just what nature provides for that animal to eat. Human beings are weird like that, though. When we say the word diet, we have a totally different meaning of that word, don't we? In fact, the word diet for a human means torture. It means suffering. It means pain. That's not what we're talking about when I'm talking about the optimal diet for a human being. I'm talking about what human beings are intended, what nature intended for humans to eat. And that's what we teach you. That's what we teach you in Ironclad. And when you start to eat, over the long term, the way you were intended to do, it's like this magical thing happens, and all this energy is created from places. Your body starts to heal in weird ways. It's like an amazing sort of miracle has happened. To us, as Ironcladders, it's like normal. That's like how you're supposed to be. So all these symptoms and things that people have, Ironcladders, we generally don't. Well, let me take that back. We do if we eat the standard Western diet. If we go back to living the way that we used to live, yeah, we get that. That's what we teach you in Ironclad. Really, what is your optimal diet? But I'm getting a little bit on a sidetrack here. Let's get off of that. So, how do you heal yourself? What do you need to do? Why are you so tired all the time? Well, the cells, the body, every cell in your body has to make and generate energy. Energy comes from the burning of glucose in cells. It can also come from ketones. There's a couple different ways that it can do that. But basically, you can think of your cell as a little engine, and it has to burn stuff. Just like any fire, what does a fire need? It needs fuel, it needs wood, or it needs some sort of combustible thing. And then it needs heat, right? The heat's already generated from inside your body. That's kind of a natural thing. It comes from inside you. The other thing it needs is oxygen. So a lot of people that I see with long COVID that are dealing with this, they do have problems with their lung tissue. They have a healing issue. Their lungs don't heal properly. Or they have scar tissue of other things. They'll be told that the only way to fix this stuff, for example, my lungs aren't giving me enough oxygen, so what am I going to do? I'm going to give myself more oxygen. I'm going to increase that through like having an oxygen mask or something. The problem is high levels of oxygen is also destructive to lung tissue and can destroy it. So you end up with this sort of catch-22 thing where it's like, well, I'm not just going to give myself more oxygen. Interestingly enough, this is kind of how the medical community in general deals with things like this. If you need more oxygen, we're just going to give you more. If your insulin body is insulin resistant, meaning that your cells don't react very well to insulin anymore, and you have blood sugar that's too high, we're going to give you more insulin to force that insulin level down. The medical method of dealing with a lot of these things is fairly brutal for the human body, and you have consequences for that brutality, right? It's great for a pharmaceutical company because they earn a lot of money off of it, but it's not good for human beings because we weren't meant to live on insulin, right? In fact, most of the insulin that human beings take is actually pig insulin, bovine insulin, so it's not, or it's a different form of insulin, and it's not the natural kind, and it doesn't really fit onto our receptors very well, so what you end up getting is what? They have to increase the dosage. They have to increase it to a really, really high level, so you have all this extra stuff and all these side effects and all these kinds of things, and what do then? They give you a pill for the pill for the pill. That's just generally how it works. And more power to them. You know why? Because number one, people take them, and number two, there's nothing else that they can do for you. It's the sad thing about the standard medical care in today's society, in what most people don't understand, is that really what the medical community in throughout the world, in the most places, and not everyone, I'm being a little bit generalistic. I was here on Monday night with a medical doctor who thinks more about this stuff in the way that I do. He's an ironcladder like I am, and he thinks exactly like this, probably even more ways than I do, and knows it insides and outside, just like I do, probably in better than I do in some ways, even though I'm the creator and founder of what we're doing. But the reality is there are a lot of medical doctors and a lot of professors, because the truth is the truth. You do see what works, and it is real. But aside from that, it makes billions upon trillions of dollars for certain companies. People being sick is what they want. That's what they want. I talked about this in the last thing that's earlier this week. They call it in Dutch the Ziekenhuis because it's the sick house, and they want people to be ill. So we're not about that here in general. What we are about is the opposite of that. Is instead of like, well, it is important to recognize how you get sick, but the reason people get sick, the reason people get COVID is because they don't have an immune system that functions properly. The reason that their lung tissue won't heal is that their body isn't healing properly. It all goes back to the same kinds of things. If you're exhausted all the time, there's a reason why. And the same things that give people all this exhaustion, that cause your body to heal improperly, that cause you to be overweight and not be able to lose the weight, those all stem from the exact same origin. It's all the same thing. The inflammation that really riles people up and deals with causes these heart problems and is one of the factors of cancer. Cancer has other origins. It all has an origin in the same kind of thing. So, and what is that thing? Your body isn't processing the food that you eat properly, and you aren't getting enough oxygen in the right way. Your body's stuck in this sort of on fire reaction, and it cannot get out of that. And the reason it can't get out of that is because your mind and the way that you think is locked in particular beliefs and ideas about that just aren't true. What you need to be able to break this is a particular program that takes you through this stuff, that makes you aware of what your individual problems are, because everybody is different to a degree. It's sort of interesting. Some people will say to me on a call, well, is Ironclad the same for everybody? Yes and no. What do I mean by that specifically? There is an optimal diet of a human being, right? But within that optimal diet, there are variations depending on who you are. Like some people in the beginning, they change. As their body heals and changes, the things they can tolerate, the things they want, the things they don't want changes. So it's, who wants to eat the same thing every single day? Nobody, right? I don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. That's a good idea. Why? Because we're supposed to be attracted to different nutrients in nature. So it isn't like just cookie cutter for everybody the same, but there are general things that are the same for everybody. And that's what we stick to in the Ironclad Gauntlet. We teach you those things, and when you understand it, you understand it. And you also understand what works for you really well, what doesn't work for you, and why. So you learn where you've struggled and where you've been and how to get there and how to get out. More importantly, not only the awareness that you have, but you also learn in a very, very, very deep way how to change. You become free. Where most people, and this is what I see most often, for example, in the message that Lisa sent me, and as so many of the people of long COVID, is these people, you guys, it breaks my heart to see the way that you live. That you live in these, it's like literally a hell. It's a terrible, terrible place to be in, where your body doesn't heal, where you feel you have no energy to function, where you can't do anything. I mean, you're a shell of who you used to be, and it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. In fact, what most people don't realize is the incredible capability that your body has to heal if it has what it needs to heal, if you get what you need to do that, and if you can figure out the right way to get there. You have to make some really big changes to be able to get there. That's really that's the bottom line. You do. But it isn't rocket science. Anybody can do it, whether you have diabetes, whether you have long COVID, whether you just want to lose 20 or 30 pounds, or maybe even 100 pounds, whatever you need to do, all those problems stem from the same, all those health issues stem from the same fundamental problem, yeah? And it's what we address in Ironclad. And we can go into more on how I do that, or how we do that in Ironclad, or what you need to do. I probably the easiest thing to do is to get on a call with me. You can talk to me directly. I can talk to you about how Ironclad works. We can figure out what your situation is, because people are different and people have different needs, and that's what we do. I know I'm speaking probably a little bit general here. I'm going to keep it general because I don't really know who's listening to this directly. I know some of you have reached out to me, and we've had wonderful calls with people. So if you want to be one of those people that gets in a call with us, I would encourage you to do one thing. Reach out to Cayenne or myself or Rendell, our virtual assistant. Reach out to one of the three of us and ask for an opportunity to get on a call. Maybe we'll put a post down here in the bottom. Why? Because the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking for you, and the clock is also ticking for us, but in a cool way, because we're going to be welcoming a Ironclad baby here in a couple weeks. And at that point, we're going to take a little break from posting and being around. I'm sure we'll put some stuff in here about our baby. But we're really excited about that. And before our baby is born, we are offering a very special discount for people who want to get healthy and want to sign up and want to be part of us when the ship leaves for Ironclad later on. So if you want to be a part of this, if you really want to get there, if you want to get this fixed, if you want to learn what your problem is and how you want to get out of it, if you want to get the best health that you've ever had, I mean, really, literally, if you want to feel better than you've ever had in your life, if you want to figure out how to lose those extra pounds that you're dealing with, if you want to feel how to have this ability to be like, I want to look like this, and I'm going to look like that, if I want to figure out how to deal with my mind and the constant energy brain fogs and I can't think clearly, if you want to learn how to break through that without any medications, without any pills, without any crazy supplements and super weird diet plans, all you have to do is get on a call with us and we'll talk about whether we can do that for you or not. Ironclad isn't super magical, wonderful, powerful thing that is it for everybody? No, it's not for everybody. There are people, in fact, the reality is a lot of people who want to work with us, they either aren't ready to do it or, we don't think they're the right fit, and that can happen. But there's a lot of people, every single person that's ever been on a breakthrough call with us, an Ironclad breakthrough call, has said it's been a good experience. Why? Because they've learned. They've learned where they're at, what they need to do, and generally most of the people who do it decide that they want to do it. Every single Ironclad warrior has said it's the best thing they ever did in their life. So if you want to be one of them, if you want to transform, reach out to us. That's all you got to do. Yeah, so I'm here for you guys. I hope you guys are having, I hope you watch this, enjoy this. Please leave a comment, a post if you've got something out of it. I'd really like to hear that. It's wonderful to see that. And Lisa, thank you for your comment. Oh, and if any of you guys, anybody else has any questions or comments or concerns or things that you'd like to talk about, you let me know. I'm happy to help you. I'm here for you. And this is Dr. Ben saying peace.